Scorpio, I'm going to reveal something that happens behind your back. I need you to stop everything right now and pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you. While you live your life, while you work, rest and relax, there's a conversation happening about you. Not just any conversation, a conversation that is completely changing how certain people see you, and you have no idea this is happening. Not because you're naive, you're anything but naive, but because it's happening in spaces you don't access, at times you don't witness, between people who maintain perfect masks when they're in front of you. These conversations about you aren't neutral. They're charged, intense, revealing. Some people are speaking of you with admiration they would never show directly. Others are confessing fears they have about you. Some are processing how you've transformed them without you consciously doing anything. And others, and these are the most important, are revealing their true intentions, their plans, their strategies related to you. And all of this is happening behind your back, right now. You've probably felt it before. That strange feeling when you walk into a room and the energy instantly shifts, when people stop talking half a second before you appear, when glances meaningfully meet in your presence, when you realize there's a layer of communication happening that you're not fully grasping. Your Scorpio intuition is right. There's much more going on than what reaches you, and what I'm about to reveal will give you access to this hidden world of conversations, judgments, admiration, and conspiracies swirling around you. Are you ready to know exactly what they say about you when they think you'll never find out? What I'm about to tell you doesn't come from speculation or vague generalization. It comes from universal patterns that repeat themselves in the life of every Scorpio who has developed their personal power. It comes from a deep understanding of how your energy affects others in ways you can't even imagine. And it comes from the knowledge that Scorpio, more than any other sign, provokes intense and contradictory reactions in people. Reactions they hide from you, but share among themselves. Let me tell you first about what people who admire you say behind your back. There's a group around you, it may be small or large, but it exists, that speaks of you with a reverence that would surprise you. They say things like, "I've never seen anyone like him," or "She has something I can't explain, but that fascinates me." They analyze your choices, your behaviors, trying to decipher the code of your personal power. They use you as a benchmark to measure other people, and those people always fall short. They defend you in conversations where you're being criticized, even when you don't know you're being attacked. But here's what's most interesting. These same people who intensely admire you have never shown it directly to you. Why? Because they feel it would be giving away too much power. Because they fear that if you knew how much they admire you, you might use it against them. Not because you would, but because they project onto you the intensity and strategic power they themselves would like to have. So they maintain a more neutral stance in your presence, when in reality they are internally fascinated by who you are. Now, let's get to the more serious part. What people who feel threatened by your presence say about you. And yes, there are several. Scorpio causes two types of extreme reaction: intense devotion or defensive hostility. There is rarely a middle ground. People who feel threatened by you are having conversations behind your back that try to diminish your brilliance. They point out your flaws, which are actually just characteristics that bother them because they can't replicate them. They call your intensity exaggeration, your depth weight, your authenticity lack of filter. They are constructing narratives about you that justify why they choose to keep their distance. "He's too intense for me. She's complicated. It's too much energy." What they really mean is, "I feel exposed around this person, and I don't know how to deal with it." Your mere presence causes these people to confront their own superficialities, their own falsehoods, their own emotional limitations. And instead of doing the inner work that this would require, they prefer to turn you into the problem. And you know what's most revealing? Those same people who talk badly about you behind your back become extremely uncomfortable when someone speaks badly about you to their face. Because even if they don't admit it, even if they try to belittle you, they respect you. They fear you, and they don't want to be seen as your direct enemies. So they talk about you in safe environments, with specific people who share the same discomfort with your intensity. For Scorpios born between October 23rd and November 2nd, the conversations that happen behind their backs are mainly about their power of transformation and renewal. People are impressed and sometimes frightened by their ability to completely reinvent themselves. They comment amongst themselves on how they seem like a different person at each stage of life, but always stronger, deeper, and this makes them question their own stagnation. For those born between November 3rd and 12th, what people say about you involves your ability to read people as if they were open books. Conversations often revolve around how nothing escapes his notice or she always knows when someone is lying. People share stories of how you notice things that no one else did, and this creates a mixture of admiration and caution around you. And for those born between November 13th and 21st, conversations behind their backs focus on their fierce loyalty and equally fierce capacity for revenge. People say things like, "Never betray a Scorpio," or "It's better to have them as a friend than as an enemy." There's a respect for their power of retaliation that makes people measure their actions when you're involved in any way. But there's a category of conversations about you that happens behind your back that's different from admiration or fear. These are conversations where people process how you've changed their lives, how a casual comment of yours completely transformed their perspective on something important, how your presence at a critical moment gave them courage they didn't know they had, how you saw potential in them that they didn't see in themselves. These people are having emotional conversations about the impact you've had and continue to have on their lives. And here's what's most touching. You probably don't even remember those moments. For you, it was just a normal conversation, basic advice, a simple gesture. But for them, it was a turning point, and they talk about it. They tell these stories about you to other people. "If it weren't for him, I never would have. She was the only person who truly understood me when..." You're creating a legacy of impact without even realizing it, and people are witnessing it behind your back. Now I need to reveal something darker to you. There is a specific person or a small group who are having conversations about you that aren't just casual criticisms. They are strategies, plans. This person is trying to figure out how to weaken you, how to remove you from a position, how to diminish your influence. They are studying you, your routines, your connections, your vulnerabilities, and they are sharing these observations with carefully chosen allies. Why is this happening? Because you have something that this person wants. It could be a position, recognition, a person, an opportunity. And they've concluded that the only way to get it is by removing you from their path somehow. They won't confront you directly. They know they would lose. So they're working behind the scenes, trying to create situations that harm you without you tracing the source back to them. But here's where she made a fatal mistake. She underestimated her ability to perceive when something is wrong. Scorpio has an internal warning system that detects threats even before they fully manifest. You're probably already feeling something, a strange sensation when this person is around, a distrust that you can't rationally justify, but that you can't ignore. Your radar is working perfectly, and what I'm going to teach you now is how to act on this information. First, don't confront her directly yet. People who plot behind your back are like cockroaches. When you turn on the light, they run for the shadows. If you confront her now, she'll deny everything, play the victim, and only become more careful in future plots. Your best strategy is to observe silently. Let her think she's being subtle and effective. Meanwhile, you mentally document every move, every inconsistency, every little betrayal. Second, strengthen your alliances. The people who truly support you, those who speak well of you behind your back, need to know that you value it. Not in an obvious or transactional way, but through genuine reciprocity. Be there for them as they are for you. This creates a protective network that makes it much more difficult for conspirators to effectively harm you. Third, Observe whose behavior changes when you enter the room, who becomes slightly tense, who changes the subject quickly, who avoids direct eye contact but observes you when they think you're not looking. These are signs that the person was talking about you moments before you appeared, and depending on the nature of that tension, you can distinguish whether it was shy admiration or guilty conspiracy. Scorpio, the conversations happening behind your back also reveal something important about your current life situation. When people talk a lot about someone, whether positively or negatively, it's because that person is emanating a power that cannot be ignored. You've entered a phase where your presence is impossible to ignore. People either adore you or fear you, but no one ignores you. And that is real power. The power you're radiating doesn't come from arrogance or performance. It comes from profound authenticity. You've stopped pretending. You've stopped diminishing yourself to make others feel comfortable. You've stopped hiding your intensity to fit in. And when someone is genuinely authentic in a world of masks, it makes waves. People feel it. And they respond. Some with devotion, others with hostility, but everyone responds. Conversations about you are also happening on levels that transcend the world. People are mentioning you in prayers, in affirmations, in personal reflections. I wish I had his courage. I need her clarity. How does he manage to see through everything? You have become a mirror for people, reflecting both their possibilities and their limitations. And this generates internal conversations, even when they are not talking about you with others. There is also a spiritual dimension to the conversations that take place about you. Energies, entities, forces that observe your evolution with interest. Scorpio, having developed their personal power, begins to operate at frequencies that attract attention from non-physical dimensions. Some protect you, guide you, support you. Others try to mislead you, confuse you, drain you. The battles you face on the physical plane are merely manifestations of much deeper dynamics happening on planes you don't directly see. But getting back to the human level, you need to know that while there are people plotting against you behind your back, there are many more people secretly rooting for your success. People who don't have the courage to tell you directly, but who celebrate your victories as if they were their own. Who feel genuine joy when good things happen to you. Who defend you in conversations where you are being attacked. These people are your invisible allies, and they are more numerous than the conspirators. What people talk about most behind your back, almost universally among everyone who knows you, is your capacity for transformation. How you change, evolve, reinvent yourself in ways that seem impossible. How you survive things that would destroy other people. How you emerge from each crisis stronger, wiser, more powerful. People observe this with a mixture of admiration and incomprehension. How do you do it? Where does this resilience come from? And the answer they don't know, but that you know deep down, is that you're not afraid of symbolically dying. You understand that some versions of yourself need to die so that new versions can be born. You don't cling to outdated identities. You don't fear the unknown of transformation. And that gives you a huge advantage over people who spend their entire lives trying to be the same person they were decades ago. Conversations about your transformative capacity are inspiring some and frightening others. Those who are inspired are using you as an example that real change is possible. Those who are frightened are using you as justification for not trying. Only people like him can do that. I'm different. But both groups are talking about you, thinking about you, possessing what your existence means for their lives. Scorpio, I also need to tell you that there are people who lie about you behind your back. Not necessarily malicious lies, but distortions. They exaggerate stories, attribute intentions to you that you never had, create versions of events where you are a villain or a hero in ways that don't correspond to reality. Why? Because you have become an archetype in their minds. You are no longer just a person. You are a symbol. And symbols are malleable to the psychological needs of those who use them. Some people need you to be the villain in their stories to justify their own choices. I had to do it because he. Others need you to be the hero to validate their own perceptions. If someone were as powerful as she believes in me, you're being used in narratives you don't even know, playing roles you never consciously accepted. And that's part of having a strong presence. You don't control how people interpret you in their private stories. What you can control is how you respond when these distortions reach you. And they will. Someone will tell you what they're saying. You will uncover the lies, the exaggerations, the conspiracies. At that moment, your choice will determine your real power. You can go into revenge mode, and it would be justified. You can confront, expose, retaliate. Or you can do something far more powerful. You can simply continue being who you are, knowing that the truth always emerges eventually. People who lie about you behind your back eventually contradict themselves. Conspirators are eventually exposed. Masks eventually fall. All you need to do is maintain your integrity while you wait. Don't stoop to their level. Don't adopt their tactics. Maintain your power by being exactly who you are. Authentic, intense, profound, unbreakable. And here's something that will surprise you. Some of the people who talk about you the most behind your back secretly want to be you. They study your moves not just to harm you, but to try to replicate your power. They observe how you dress, how you speak, how you set boundaries, how you turn situations around, and they try to copy you, but they always fail because authentic power cannot be copied. It can only be developed internally through real work of personal transformation. These failed imitations breed even more resentment. Why does it work for him, but not for me? They don't understand that what they see is merely the external manifestation of a deep internal process that took years to develop. They want the result without the process, the power without the pain, the transformation without the symbolic death. And since that's impossible, they blame you for having what they desire but haven't achieved. Scorpio, the most important conversations that happen about you behind your back aren't the ones people have with other people. They're the conversations they have with themselves. The internal dialogues where you appear as a point of reference, as inspiration, as a warning, as a mystery to be deciphered. You inhabit the mental space of far more people than you imagine. And in that space, you exert influence even without being physically present. Use this knowledge wisely. Not to manipulate or inflate your ego, but to understand the weight of your presence in the world. You affect people profoundly. Your actions, your words, your choices create ripples that spread far beyond what you immediately see. That is responsibility. Use it to uplift, not to destroy. To inspire genuine transformation, not to fuel fears. The revelations I've made here shouldn't make you paranoid. They should make you aware. There's a difference. Paranoia is an irrational fear of imaginary threats. Awareness is the realistic recognition of existing dynamics and choosing how to navigate them wisely. You now know what conversations are happening about you, that some are beneficial, some neutral, some hostile. Armed with this knowledge, you can move through the world with more strategic precision. If this message touched something deep within you, if you recognize truths you already felt but hadn't put into words, simply share in the comments, "I know what they say." You don't need to elaborate. Just indicate that you are aware of the hidden dynamics revolving around you and that you choose your power instead of victimhood. Subscribe to the channel now because in the next videos I'll teach you exactly how to use this information strategically, how to identify who your true allies are, how to neutralize conspirators without engaging in open warfare, how to transform the secret admiration of others into concrete support, how to protect your energy from people who study you with dubious intentions. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any of these power tools. This is your moment of heightened awareness, Scorpio. You have just gained access to a level of understanding that most people never reach. Use it well. Use it with integrity. And remember, while they talk about you behind your back, you continue to evolve, transform, ascend. Let them talk. Let them secretly admire you. Let them plot uselessly. None of that can stop someone who knows their own power and consciously chooses how to use it. You have always been stronger than any narrative they can create about you. Continue being exactly who you are.